All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much again for joining us. My name is Barbara Moreno, and with my colleague here today, Regina Arlotto, we're going to talk to you a little bit more about safe routes to school and biking in DC. So let's go ahead and get started. So, on the agenda for today, we're going to chat a little bit more about goDCgo and school services for those of you that are new. Talk a little bit more about how students traveled back in the before times of 2019, fall 2019 specifically. We'll also touch on how goDCgo supports walking and biking, both for school staff and students. And then I'll kick it over to Regina, and she'll give you a really nice overview of the Safe Routes to School program. And of course, we'll leave time at the end for any questions that you might have. And feel free to type any questions that you might have right now. And as we go along in the chat, we'll definitely be answering them at the end. So feel free if I say something, Regina says something, and you want a clarification, more than happy to elaborate a little bit more. So as I chat, as Regina chats, feel free to type something into the chat box. And with that, let's go and tell you a little bit more about goDCgo and school services. So, goDCgo, for those that are new, first, welcome. Two, goDCgo is an initiative of the District Department of Transportation. So we are a leading resource for transportation information and options. If you've ever gone to goDCgo.com, you'll see that we have a plethora of resources on every mode, basically. So if you're interested in learning more about biking, of course, right, you're here for this webinar. More on walking, scooters, those cool new mopeds that you see around the city. We have all of that and more on our website. So I highly recommend checking it out. The reason we have so many of these resources to promote these modes, because those modes are all considered sustainable transportation. So sustainable transportation includes public transit, walking, biking, scootering, those micromobility vehicles, all of that. And goDCgo is here to encourage the use of sustainable transportation. So not only do we provide direct resources to anyone who wants them, so feel free to go check us out. We also offer complimentary transit resources and consulting services to DC organizations and commuters. So if you're a school, which you are, and you want specific assistance, we can do that as well. And the reason we care so much about sustainable transportation and promoting it and encouraging it and making sure that you have all the information that you need before you make your trip choices is that our goal overall is to decrease traffic congestion, improve air quality, and just generally create a better quality of life in the DC area. And one way that we're going to be able to achieve that is by having more and more people use sustainable transportation to get to and from their destination. And those destinations include schools as well. So school services is an offshoot of goDCgo. As the name says, we are here for schools, to service schools. And we do that by providing basically free consultations to all types of schools. So if you're a DC public school, private school, or a charter school, we are here to help you either implement or enhance commuter benefit programs for your staff so we can get them riding transit more or taking bikes more, but also to encourage your staff, students, and families to use sustainable transportation as well. Sometimes you already have a program installed, right? Maybe you already have pre-tax benefits, right? DCPS has a great pre-tax benefits program. So we're also here to just help promote the existing programs and any new programs that you decide to implement. So if you're interested in doing that at your school, please do reach out to me. Here's my contact information. I'll just talk a little bit more about my background. I actually come from the education world. I used to work at the teachers union. So it's really nice to be able to still work with schools and work with teachers and also be able to do work in a field that I love very much, which is transportation. So I'm a huge fan of public transportation. I've been riding it since I was 4 years old. I'm originally from Chicago. There it is, nice little map form behind me, which has an excellent transportation system, much like DC. So huge fan, huge proponent of public transportation and sustainable transportation in general. So really excited to be here. My contact information is on the screen. We'll also be sharing the slides after the webinar. So No need to write down anything. We'll be sending everything after we're wrapped up. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about how students traveled in 2019. So back in fall of 2019, the District Department of Transportation, goDCgo, DCPS, and DME launched a school commute survey. And we had over 8,000 participants across 3 areas. So we asked and surveyed both middle and high school students directly about their school commute patterns. We also asked families and parents to provide information about how they commute with their youngest to school, right? So students would be in elementary school. And then we asked staff as well to tell us a little bit more about their participation in and their various commute patterns, like how are you getting to school, how are you getting to and from school, all that good stuff. Today, I'm going to highlight some of the responses for our middle and high school students and our elementary students. So first up, for our middle and high school students, this is their mode split. So as you can see, remember earlier when I was saying like this is what sustainable transportation is composed of: walking, public transit, sharing a ride, all of that good stuff. As you can see, for middle and high school students, sustainable transportation back in fall 2019, and most likely in fall 2021 when we're all heading back to school, is really important. As you see, about 35% rely on Metro bus to get to and from school. Another 25% rely on Metro rail to get to and from school. 20% have their parents drive, which is pretty small. So 80% of students in middle and high school in DC, according to the survey, rely on sustainable transportation to get to and from school. So it's really important that we learn more about what it is and how we can promote it and support students and families as they make these choices for how they want their students to get to and from school. And as you can see, the colors are still the same. For elementary students, sustainable transportation is also as equally as important for how parents travel with their youngest student to school. So that's where we got this data from. We asked parents to report on how they travel to school with their youngest elementary student. So parents reported that 39% of them walk to school with their youngest student to elementary school. About 37% drive, which is bigger than middle and high school students, which makes sense, right? But even with that, another 16% of elementary parents, I guess would be the best way to phrase this data, and elementary students are getting to school via Metro bus, another 5% via biking, and 3% via Metro rail. So still a good amount, over half, so almost 60%, if not more, students are traveling, elementary students are traveling to and from school using sustainable transportation. So it's not only just important as students get older, it's also critically important to learn more about sustainable transportation and promote it and support students that are using it even at the elementary school level. So how do we do that? How do we support walking and biking? So I'm going to talk a little bit more about how goDCgo personally supports walking and biking here in the district. So first up, one of the most important materials to be created during the pandemic is our Commute with Care material. So we knew that people had a lot of questions, right? Like, what do I do when I'm riding public transit? So we did them for every mode. So if you need assistance and have questions around walking, biking, using scooters, public transit, bus, rail, all that stuff, we developed Commute with Care to school for each mode. So obviously I decided to highlight our biking one here. Additionally, these materials are available in both English and Spanish. So we want to make sure that they were accessible to as many parents as they decide and make choices, and schools are slowly starting to reopen. We want to make sure that you had the right proper information to make those sustainable transportation choices. Right. Another big way that we support walking and biking and just sustainable transportation overall here in the district is through our sustainable transportation plan. So this is a guide that we work with schools to develop. So I just have the first page on the screen, but it's a couple pages long and there's two key parts to it. So there's a part where you get to select which strategies your school wants to employ to further along sustainable transportation. So you pick walking, you say, hey, this is one way I can promote biking or walking to school. You select that, we work with you to achieve that goal. So let's say, hey, we want more staff to bike. We're going to become Capital Bike Share corporate members, which I'll talk about a little bit more later on in the presentation. goDCgo would help you achieve that goal. Additionally, we also have a calendar of events. So basically, it's aligned with the school year. So every month you can see what way there is to promote sustainable transportation. The biggest one right now, which is kind of why we decided to do this presentation now, is next month is Bike Month. So it's a whole month of celebration around biking. I highly encourage your schools to get involved, and they can get involved in a couple of ways. So Regina put down the bike to school information, bike to school day information in the chat. That's one way. But there's also for staff, there is National Bike to Work Day. So I know some staff are on site. That's a great way to promote that. So that'd be biketoworkday.com. .org. Highly recommend checking it out. They're giving away some fun swag. There's going to be pit stops all across the city, so there's probably going to be one near your school. So I highly recommend checking out that website. All right, this is one of our newest resources to promote biking and walking and other sustainable modes. We developed a family-friendly activity book. So it's super fun. We have fun little activities, like name the parts of the bike. We have a crossword puzzle. It's very much geared at making sustainable transportation fun and accessible for people of all ages. So you can have fun and teach students about sustainable transportation all at the same time. So this is all on our website. So every resource that I'm sharing here is on our website. We'll also be sharing them in the post-webinar email as well. But yeah, I highly recommend checking out the activity book. It's a super fun way. I know we're about to head into summer break. We need ideas to keep children busy. Highly recommend checking out this activity book on our website. Another way is that we want to make sure that people have a general idea about biking in DC. When you're new, you really don't know too much about it. So we created a Biking in DC 101 infographic that really provides a nice quick snapshot of all the biking options. And we help answer some of the questions that people are most likely to have. So biking in DC, we talk about Capital Bike Share. How do you access it? How do you park it? How do you return it, right? These are all basic questions you have if you've never used Capital Bike Share before. Again, with dockless bikes and scooters, how do you access them? How do you return them? How do you report a problem? All great questions. And even with your personal bike, how do you lock your bike? How do you report a problem with like a bike locking station? All that information and more is available on this infographic, which is also available on our website. All right, and this is one of my top favorite resources that we have on our website. It's our interactive map, and it really allows you to plan a very bike-friendly trip. So I know a lot of times when people are hesitant about biking because they don't know where the bike lanes are, right? They don't know how to get from point A to point B using bike lanes. This map helps solve a lot of those issues. So it will specifically highlight the bike lanes that will, and trails and right, whatever will help you get to your destination in the most bike-friendly way when you type in your location and your destination. So that's a great way. Another way that our interactive map is super useful is for Capital Bike Share. So a lot of times, you know, hey, I see the Capital Bike Share station. It's right a block from my house. Awesome. I would love to use it. But anytime I'm going somewhere, I don't know if there's going to be a Capital Bike Share station where I'm going, right? Like you need to be able to dock it, you need to be able to put it away. But if you don't know that, you can't do that. So on our interactive map, we actually have all the Capital Bike Share locations. You can actually plan your trip and see that, right? You'll see your nearest Capital Bike Share locations, and you'll also see all the capital bike share locations located near your destination, your final destination. So it's a great way to plan a bike-friendly trip. This one would be goDCgo.com/interactive-map. Highly recommend it. This is another one of my favorite ones. This is a great free resource. This is a material. So this is a physical map that we can send to you. We do have a digital version of the map on the website, as you can see from the interactive map. But you can also just order either a personal bike map for yourself as a school staff, as a resident of DC, resident of the area. We offer free bike maps to anyone who requests them. If you would like to order for your school, you can order up to about 200 at a time. So if you're interested in getting bike maps for your school, all you have to do, it's very simple. You have two options. One, you can just send an email quickly to info@goDCgo with your name, school, address, and the number of maps you'd like to receive. So let's say you don't need 200 at your school, you only got about 100 students. No worries, we can send you 100 very quickly. Another option that you have to order bike maps and other resources is going to the goDCgo website. We do have a brochure ordering page, and you can not only order some bike maps, but you can also order metro maps, VRE maps, MARC maps, metro bus route information, all that good stuff, and all of it's free and at no charge to the school. It just gets shipped directly to your school for you to use it to your heart's content. All right, and so this is a really big one that happened recently. So this is one of our most popular programs is our Capital Bike Share memberships. I want to start off that recently, not sure if it's made the full rounds yet, so I'm very happy to be announcing it, is that not just DCPS staff, all DC government staff, so DCPS staff would be included, can get a $0 annual membership for Capital Bike Share. That's normally $85. So this is a great option if you're a DCPS staff member who's interested in biking to school. Very low cost. There's probably a bike station near your school. Again, use our interactive map to figure that out. That's why we have that. But we'll share this flyer in the post-webinar materials as well, so that way you can see all the instructions. It's pretty easy. You basically have like a special code that you use as DCPS staff to get access to the free Capital Bike Share membership. So I highly recommend it. And for those staff on the webinar who work at a charter or a private school, you can offer a similar benefit to your staff by your school becoming a Capital Bike Share corporate member. So how this works is that your school can either fully subsidize, they come at an already reduced rate. So normally a Capital Bike Share membership is $85. If your school joins through the corporate bike share program, the membership price is reduced down to $50 per person per annual membership. And your school has two options. They can either fully subsidize it, right, and pay the $50 for each staff member that decides to join. And it's on a per join basis. You don't have to pay for a certain amount of memberships beforehand. You can do that afterwards as people join. So if 2 people join, you just pay for 2 people. So you can either do a full subsidy, pay for $50, or you can do a half subsidy and do your staff pays $25 and then you pay $25. Either way, it's a great option to encourage biking to and from your school by staff. Great, and I think this might be my last slide. This is one of our newest ways to support biking here in the district. So this spring, goDCgo is going to offer school staff, DC school staff specifically, a bike incentive in the form of a reimbursement of up to $250 on the purchase of a new bike for commuting. So if you have recently purchased a bike, are interested in purchasing a bike, I highly recommend to go ahead and go do that. Email me if you want more information, but I highly recommend just going to our website. I'm going to go ahead and just share that in the chat right now. So we have that. Actually, I'm going to share 2 things. So that's for the DCPS membership. And then that's the bike incentive information. So you can have that. But on the website, we have obviously all the information that you need to know about how to apply. Pretty straightforward process. You have a bike receipt proving that you bought a bike, and you work at a a DC school. So whether you're a public school, a private school, or a charter school, you are eligible for this reward and this reimbursement. So highly recommend checking it out. We also have places you can buy bikes in the district. I'm gonna give a shout out to Gearing Up Bikes. They actually work with McKinley Tech high school students to fix up bikes. And so you can purchase a very reasonably priced bike that's been pre-loved, I think would be the best way to say it. But they do a great job of fixing them up. And you can support DCPS students as well. So highly recommend checking them out. There's also velocity bikes. All the information and more is on the Bike Incentive website. So highly recommend checking it out. We have not only physical places in DC where you can purchase a bike, but also great online shops where you can also purchase a bike to submit it for reimbursement. So highly recommend taking advantage of it. It is very much on a first come, first served basis. So once funds are depleted, we will not be continuing the reimbursement. So the quicker you can get your application in, the better. So great option. We're very excited to be offering this. Any questions that you have, don't hesitate to email me. More than happy to answer them. And with that, I'm going to kick it over to Regina.
Good morning, everyone. Wow, I'm still reeling from a $250 bike credit towards buying a bike. So tell your coworkers and friends, I think that's a fantastic deal. You can get a pretty nice bike, you know, for $250, or if you want to go higher and get that $250 back, I think that's terrific. So I'm excited about that. My name is Gina Arlotto. I guess next slide, Barbara. And I am one of two transportation planners at DDOT that works specifically on what we call the Safe Routes to School program. The Safe Routes to School program is for thinking of ways to help get more students and families to walk or ride their bikes to school. So we do some encouragement programming, we do infrastructure improvements. If you have, say a crosswalk that is completely missing because over the years it's gotten faded or chipped away, I can come and look and submit a work order to kind of expedite getting that improved. And of course, this is all about really getting more kids to walk. We know that kids do not get as much physical activity as they should. And a walk to school is the easiest, one of the easiest ways to get a quick, 10 or 15 minute walk out at the beginning and at the end of the day. A little bit about how I've been doing Safe Routes to School for about 10 years. I actually wrote one of the first grants for my own kids' school. My kids all went through the Capitol Hill cluster from Peabody to Watkins to Stewart Hobson. And when they were at Watkins, one of my favorite things to do every day was walking them to school and getting them home and walking home back with them. And we had a lot of issues around Watkins at that time. So I did write the grant for the Safe Routes to School program at DDOT to come and take a look at the school and see what they could do perhaps to improve the walking and bicycling there. Okay, next slide. We work with public, private, and charter schools. They're all eligible for Safe Routes to School assistance. You can email me, contact me, and I can come and take a look at some issues. If you think there is a place where maybe a stop sign should be, or you would like some improved signage, I can come and take a look and determine as to whether we can help fix that. The one thing that we really have a tough time doing is getting schools more crossing guards. That is something that I know a lot of people really need and want. We are trying to get a larger budget. That's actually not managed by me, but I can put in a request for additional crossing guards. And then hopefully that will, at some point when we get additional funding for those critical folks out there helping our kids get to school safely, hopefully you can be up on the list, hopefully. Okay, next slide. Oh, so I kind of have touched on some of these already. I can review your pickup and drop off process and identify particular infrastructure things that we can implement and fix, hopefully, and get it expedited. Sometimes DDOT does take a while to get to some of these different things, whether it's adding a speed hump or striping a crosswalk, but at least we can get you in the queue. And I have my own spreadsheet where I monitor all of those work orders also. So I'm kind of your voice, kind of continuing to keep the pressure on to get those repairs made. In 2019, 2020, we actually did get funding for a more in-depth program. We look at 8 schools. We hired a consultant. It's called our Safe Routes to School Planning Assistance Program. And we have hired consultants. They look at 8 schools a year, and they not only do a full workup of the infrastructure improvements that should be made, they do short-term solutions, mid-range solutions, and long-term solutions, but they also recommend and will assist with certain programming ideas. So whether it's reinvigorating your crossing safety patrol program, or if you would love to do a big walk to school event, you've never done one before, we have materials and we can get that out to you to kind of help you figure it out. At DDOT, I do also have some incentives, so we can send you little things like maybe like a box of water bottles for kids who participate in a walk to school day, or those kinds of things. Now, the planning assistance grant that we have is right now just for 2 years. We're hoping to get additional money. We are doing 8 planning schools a year. We have 1 in each ward. And we also are doing 10 other schools. They don't get the full planning study, but they do get the consultant team, which is made up of traffic engineers and planners looking at the infrastructure piece. So they'll be doing on 18 schools a year, a little bit more in-depth survey than I can do just myself on my own. One of the other things that I manage are, I do some, you can go keep it on the one before, Barbara. I also manage sidewalk installations. We have a lot of places around the city that we have a gap in our sidewalk network. So we do have a budget at DDOT, and that is another of the things that I work on. So if you perhaps have, I hope all the schools have continuous sidewalks at least around your school. But if you have a location on a block that you know of, that you have kids walking from, and it's a little infill spot of a sidewalk, that's something else that I can help facilitate and help get that installed. I can get it on our list and get that installed. Sidewalk repairs is another thing that I can do. That's another thing if you know of a place where there's a really bad crack, or it's separating from the base or something. We don't make those repairs, but again, that's another work order that I can put in. This cute little picture here on the screen right now is one of our planning schools from last year. And obviously we couldn't help them plan a walk to school day because nobody was in school, kind of messed up our whole idea. But what we did do was we did a walk around the school, kind of scavenger hunt and little trivia questions that the kids could answer. Those little flyers there have little QR codes so the kids could answer the questions. And then we gave out little prizes at the end. We do have these materials available and ready to go if you all would like those and would like to put them up around your school for an activity. Just email me and I will send them right out. It was kind of just a fun little activity for the kids. So next slide. One of the schools that we did last year was Van Ness Elementary in Ward 6. If you know where Van Ness is located, it is located at 5th and M Street Southeast. M Street is a very busy road. The kids mostly come from the north of M Street, but there is a lot of issues with congestion from parents trying to drop off their kids by car. And that conflicts with the kids who are maybe walking or trying to ride their bikes to school. So we did a really in-depth study of their environment. The consultants gave us really good engineering recommendations and some non-infrastructure recommendations. With the COVID strategies that have been implemented, they even came up, the consultants even came up with like a sidewalk queuing plan, like where the kids to stand and which way to best route them on the sidewalk so that they could do an easier check-in with the kids. And so that was basically it. I've got all of their work orders in now. Some wanted I think at Van Ness we needed some new signage put up because it was closed for a while, and so some of their signage was really outdated. So we helped fix that, and I think we even recommended some things like what we call curb bump outs or curb extensions, which basically helps tighten a turn so that a car doesn't maybe have a diagonal right turn, which is like almost like a slip lane on a highway so they can continue to go fast. But what we do is we bump out the corner to make it a tighter angle to slow that car down onto the block of the school. Next slide. Some ideas that we always throw out for schools looking to get their kids more involved in just trying out walking and biking to school. One of my favorite things is a walking school bus. This does require volunteers, but it might be a parent who's already walking their kids to school, or a phys ed teacher, or a teacher who lives in the neighborhood. And you actually come up with a route that they know if they're not at the intersection of, Kentucky Avenue and 12th Street at 8:05, they're going to miss the walking school bus. So we can help if you want to plan one of those. We can help get you some vests like you see here, some jackets that just will make the parents, volunteers a little more recognizable. Then we also there's also something called a bicycle train. And the bicycle train is kind of the same idea. Small groups of kids ride with a parent or a couple of parents or a teacher every day, and they have a set location as to where they meet. And so I don't think we have any bike trains in DC. I know we have in the past. We've had one or two where a parent was really interested in getting their kids to ride their bikes, and just kind of organically, other kids would join in. Those are great, super fun ideas. Next one. Oh, and then of course we have walk and bike to school day. Bike to school day is actually coming up next week. It's May 5th. I do have the link in the chat where you can still register. We do have 7 schools that have registered for our bike to school day. It's been kind of a crazy year. You all know this better than anyone else, but you can still register. And even if you maybe don't have all your kids in person, maybe you can do a ride around the park or something like that. It doesn't have to actually be take your bike from home and ride it all the way to school. And then in October, we always have a walk to school day. And for the first time in many years, in 2020, we did not have a full walk to school day program because there were no children in school. But like I said, we did the walk around the school activity with those little placards that they could put on signs that had like some little trivia questions and things like that. Next slide. We also have, and this is another contract that I manage, is our education contract. Now that is through, our vendor is the Washington Area Bicyclists Association. I see Jeff Wetzel is on the call with us right now, and he runs this program. Again, this is something where they used to go into the schools, but with the pandemic, they have had to adjust their programming to virtual videos that can be downloaded and accessed. They're super fun and informative. They teach kids kind of the idea of how to fit their helmet on, how to start off riding their bike. It's all the things that they would maybe get in a in-person class, but they're videos, and those are also available for all of our school partners to download those and use those. Now with the pandemic kind of hopefully on the downswing here, they are doing some small in-person classes. So if you would like to have or host a class outdoors, please contact Jeff and Pedro at youth@waba.org to schedule that. They just need a flat paved surface. They'll bring some bikes, and actually this can kind of go in concert with the second grade program, the Biking to the Parks program that DCPS does as a cornerstone program. I am actually in the middle of buying 1,000 new bikes because after 5 years, boy, those second graders have really given those bikes some really good workouts. We hope they'll last another year because there is a global bike shortage, unfortunately. So those bikes will be coming to DC in a year. Okay, next slide. Oh, so next steps, contact me with any questions. If I can't help you, I will find the person to help you. I'm always happy to talk and to hear about safety issues. I don't want anything that DDOT can fix to keep your students from being able to walk or ride their bikes. I should have mentioned also this adorable little picture. This is Neville Thomas Elementary. They have what we call a traffic garden. And one of the really great partnerships that we have developed in this last year with DCPS is we have done up a guide for traffic gardens that DCPS will be integrating traffic gardens into the rehabilitation and renovation of the schools. So they now have this great guide. Don't let them forget about it. If you have space on your playground, and this is something that really can be integrated around play equipment or around the outside of a basketball court or something like that. So if your school is on the list for a renovation in the next couple of years, this is definitely something you can ask for because they have all the stuff now that they need to put them in. So we'd love to see more of these go in. I think we have 4 traffic gardens around the city. Neville Thomas was our first one. The kids love it. The teachers love it. It's just a great way to kind of get kids to understand and get the feel for a bike, but also understand some of the visual cues, such as a stop sign or an intersection or a crosswalk, so that they can kind of really practice those safety skills. And that's all for me, but thank you so much for hearing and listening. And again, please reach out. I'm always happy to talk, and I'm always around, so.
Great, thanks so much, Regina. This has been awesome. I love hearing about all the great stuff that Safe Routes to School is doing. Of course, make sure to reach out to Regina if you have any questions on the Safe Routes to School stuff. If you're looking for just general information on like school transportation, please visit goDCgo.com/school. We have a ton of resources on there as well, and links to Safe Routes to School materials as well. Now I want to open it up to any questions. I think I saw one in the chat. From Cindy. Hi, Cindy. Looks like, oh, wow, I cannot scroll with this thing. Okay, what are some of the biggest changes we'll see related to public transportation with the ease on CDC guidelines? That is an excellent question. So the CDC guidelines only apply for outdoors. So that's an important thing to remember. So it is still unlawful to not wear a mask while riding public transportation. So that rule is still going to be enforced by all public transportation systems in the area. So WMATA is still going to be enforcing its mask rule. DC Circulator will still be enforcing its mask rule, right? Art buses down in Arlington, the Montgomery County buses, out in, the ride-on buses out of Montgomery County, all across the country, that will still be the rule until we get a new rule about public transportation. So that's still very much the case. WMATA is still distributing masks at the rail stations. So if you need one, people need one. Those are still very much accessible to anyone riding through Metro Rail. But that's a great question. There have already been some changes, or perceived changes for some people, but that's very much not the case. Great. Did anyone else have any other questions? No worries if you don't. Happy to end early. Always happy to give people some time back into their schedule. Oh, I missed the last part of Regina's last slide. Regina, I think this one. Oh, traffic gardens. You want to talk a little bit more about traffic gardens? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. You mean the traffic gardens?
Yes. So can you go over the traffic gardens a little bit more?
Okay. Oh, yes. So the traffic gardens are painted, basically a painted streetscape. We can also get little miniature stop signs. They try to do it at the actual scale that it would be if they saw it out in their neighborhood. So they do even try to do like the detectable warning ramps that are at crosswalks for handicapped folks as they know that they are coming up to a crosswalk. And those things, they paint the crosswalks, they paint stop bars for intersections. They may have like a little stoplight post that goes up there, and it is used in conjunction with the bikes that are already at the school for the second grade program. These little guys are on our push bikes, our balance bikes. So these are for kids that are just learning. We've kind of moved away from the tricycles. Actually, it's been realized that push is kind of difficult for kids when they're pedaling on a tricycle, and that this is better. These balance bikes are better. So the traffic gardens, our consultants did prepare a really great guide for DCPS architects to use in the renovation plans of schools in the future. So that is something that you can request, even if you think your space is really tight. Like I said, it's something that can actually be incorporated with other things that you may have on your playground. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Awesome. I also linked to trafficgardens.com. I think that's Finn Quinn. She's local to the area, and she, so it sounds like the traffic gardens are primarily for DCPS schools. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Schools going through the
Finola actually wrote our guide. She's one of our consultants on the planning study. She's fantastic. She's been doing this a while. She's an engineer, and she's just fabulous. I am sure that if there are charter schools that would like to see these guidelines, I'm sure the DCPS folks would share it. It is, and actually I have a copy of it. So if you can't easily get it from the DCPS facilities team, write me and I'm happy to send it to you.
Awesome. And I don't know how far she got with it, but I do remember her saying that she was trying to do like a traffic garden in a box type thing for schools. Yeah. So I don't have it with me right now, but it is fully loaded. It has the tape. You can like mark off streets, has like different color tapes, chalk, you have sprayer paint, obviously, right? Go ahead and use your paint. But she makes it very easy. So I highly recommend checking out trafficgardens.com. You can probably reach her directly and see if she's still sending those out. But that was a fun little surprise to get in the mail this past year. I was like, ooh, this is awesome.
I mean, I will say the traffic gardens are very popular. We have been working out some kinks. For example, you can imagine if all your bikes are in one shed and the kids are so excited, it's kind of a scene getting them onto the bike, getting their helmet on. So we, and Finola, I think, has tinkered with just kind of the logistics of getting the child on the bike, getting the helmet ready, so that it makes it so that teachers want to use it, because like I said, I can totally see, you know, you're trying to use it for just like a half hour and it could take you a half hour just to get the helmet on everybody, you know. So so anyway, but we do try to help you think through those kinds of logistics.
Awesome. Yes. No. Thank you all for attending. Doesn't look like we have any more questions, but we'll be sharing all the information. We'll be showing the slides and a recording of the webinar, and also any like links, PDFs that I might have referenced, or Regina might have referenced. We'll be including those in the email as well. And as of course, we have our contact information in the slides. Feel free to reach out to us with any questions. But thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you've enjoyed your time here and looking forward to the next webinar.
Yeah. Thanks all.
Thank you.